Good evening, everybody, and once again, welcome back to the Weekly Power Report. As always, I am Smithel, along with my co-host, Cozer. And this week, it's actually an exciting week for us. We actually have from the Brazilian scene of Legends of Runeterra, wonderful, wonderful player, Yangzera. So, Yang, thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure, actually.
Awesome. So typically, the way we like to start the show here is we want to kind of open the floor, give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to our listeners and the folks that maybe aren't familiar with you and who you are, what you do. So why don't you give us a little bit of background to who you are, what your thoughts are about Legends of Runeterra, and then how you're liking patch 1.4 so far.
I'm a very passionate player about Legends of Runeterra, but I actually have no card game background. I come from League of Legends. I was a challenger player in Brazil for League of Legends, and I got in love with Legends of Runeterra because I really like card games. And when the game came out, I just started playing it, and I just got addicted. This what happened.
Oh, that's awesome.
The game is really good. I'm loving the new patch as well.
So I got to ask somebody else that played Legends of or not Legends League. What role did you main?
I was a Jhin one trick pony.
ADC okay. I like you a little less right now. I hate Jhin. I hate playing against Jhin. But yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's kind of cool whenever you hear people that are sitting there saying that maybe that they're not card game players, they don't have tons of card game backgrounds, and they dig into the show or dig into the game and they find a nice place within it. And for somebody to have no card game background and be doing as well as you're doing is pretty astounding in my opinion. So kudos to that.
Yeah, I think the thing about like games in general is that like you need some kind of like skill transitions over titles, you know? So like as long as you learn how to learn a game, you're always gonna be good no matter the title you're playing. I think. So I just like gave like 100% in the Legends of Runeterra and just learned card games, learned mulligans, learn like to play around stuff. And
so let me ask you this then: is maybe this would be kind of a unique take, because a lot of times whenever we ask this question, it's people that have significant backgrounds in card games and such. But when you're sitting here saying you got to learn the game, what would you say is the biggest piece of advice you would have for folks in regards to how to pick up the game or something that they can focus on to improve that you see a lot of newer players making mistakes with?
I think that a very important thing is like just like we had in League, people need to like learn about the game. Like they need to know like every single card, every single mechanic. They need to study the game, like go in depth in everything in order to like be aware of what can happen and what should happen. And then like start questioning themselves. Oh, what should I do? What should I do here? What if they have X card or they have Y card? What if X happens?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, the general knowledge is definitely something that I think a lot of people focus on. So that's good. That's good. So again, we appreciate you being on the show. So unless Cozer has any questions for you, maybe we can just jump into patch 1.4 because I think we got a lot to cover there.
Yeah, like I might have some questions later. Like I know we'll talk about IQ at some point, but for now, let's just move on to the patch notes because these kind of take a little while. And there's a lot of patches.
And then obviously too, since I know a lot of your fans are in chat right now, and some people are very excited to see you on the show. If you guys have any kind of questions or anything that you want to see us bring up or any thoughts on any of these cards, by all means, let us know because we definitely would love to get your take on it and. Let us know what your thoughts are on any of these changes. So let's dive right into the patch notes here. So obviously 1.4 was released today. It is the brand new season. It's the Season of Fortune. We exited the Season of Plunder. And they came with quite a bit. And so we're just going to kind of run through the patch notes. I'm sure by now many of you are already familiar with it. But let's start. The first thing, obviously, Gauntlet is going to be coming tomorrow, the new game mode. I think we'll focus more on that next week once we really get a chance to dive in and play it and see how it goes and give you our thoughts on that. But just be aware, tomorrow is the day that it starts. There'll be a weekend event, obviously, so it'll run Friday through Monday. Give it a shot. You should have by now received your rank rewards. You got reset. We've talked about this multiple times. There is the master update. Again, whenever there's multiple shows, we're not going to spend too much time. Let's get into the meat of it here. And, Yang, as we talk about any of these cards, if there's anything that you love, by all means, interrupt me. Because I think they would much rather have your take than my take, to be quite honest. So let's start with Darius. So his level 2, he increased from 5 to 6 health. So basically it just gives him a little bit more of survivability. To me, I didn't think this was that big of a change, only because typically when I'm putting Darius on board, it's an aggro deck, and it's really just to finish up. I'm expecting to swing with him once and be done. What are your thoughts on this, Yang? Do you think it's going to really affect the aggro meta right now with how he was played compared to before?
Well, I've played against Darius all day today, so I can talk about this a little bit. So Darius going up from 5 health to 6 health, I think it's a big deal for the decks he's played in, and it really I don't think it warped the meta. I think people are still experimenting with Darius, but he's hard to kill. Even if he comes down in a defensive turn, you generally cannot deal with him unless you have Thermal Beam or Vengeance.
Yeah,
and you probably don't because they're playing against aggro.
That's true.
Yeah, true. I don't think to cut in, I don't think the change is huge. I think it's cool that it's there, and I think you're seeing it a lot because I remember back when people originally made aggro decks, he was throwing in them quite a bit. I feel like people are just kind of reverting back, playing him because he's now got 6 health instead of 5, but 1 health I don't think changed him that drastically. I think it's just because he's shiny and new again that people are going to kind of throw him in, and I have a feeling in a couple of weeks he's not going to be in all of the aggro decks. I have a feeling that they're going to go a different route, but I don't know. They haven't added any new cards, so it's kind of hard to say.
Yeah.
I think the reality of the situation is that Basilisk Rider got buffed and people are experimenting with Basilisk Rider, so you kind of have to dip into Noxus. So you're locked into playing Darius. Yeah. You're not gonna play any other champion.
Yeah, that makes sense. Next
Your
champion
English
that got
is very good, by the way.
Kaga
was saying that.
Thank you.
Complimenting you.
I already knew you had good English. I think I heard you talk before somewhere, and I remember that you had good English. But yeah, no. Some of you Brazilian guys, you have rough around the edges accents, but I mean, we could still understand you. I hopped in the Brazilian server to try to get a hold of you today, and I think there was 12 of them, and all of them I could understand, at least the ones that talked.
Yeah. The thing I've learned is being from where I live, chances are most foreign speakers speak actually better English than folks around here.
Yeah, for sure. That's usually what it is. Yang's English is probably better than mine, Kage.
Mine's pretty bad. So next champion is Anivia. So obviously she was a 7-cost champion at both levels. She's now a 6-cost. I've played a little bit of War Mother this week. I don't know. I like that she has plays. I'm seeing some zombie Anivia decks on ladder right now, but to me, I mean, I was never too terribly excited to drop her on 6 before. And again, I primarily played her in War Mother. So I mean, at that point, I was like, okay, I'll wait till 10. And I'll just try to get you on board leveled because I was always so afraid of her dipping. So a little cheaper is good, but I mean, it's not blowing me away in at least the style that I play.
Yeah, I think the change is good, but people are not playing War Mothers because of this change. I think they're just experimenting with War Mothers, and War Mothers you can play Soul Gorger, but I don't think 6 mana changes a lot. It does change a bit, but it doesn't change a lot.
Yeah.
Is someone brushing their teeth or shaving beside you?
No.
What is that? Okay, it's some feedback coming back from your mic. It's all good. I don't know exactly what it is. I wouldn't worry.
Yeah, we're good. So I mean, I'm excited to see if people come up with stuff with her because I really do love the card, and I think it's a cool mechanic. It just of all the Freljord champions that got changed, we'll say she's the one that I'm least excited about, and I'm more excited about the next guy coming up with our big buddy Braum. So Braum took a big change, and I am seeing him all over ladder right now, in Plat. And so he did go from a 3-cost unit to 4. He went from 0 power to 1. And the biggest change, in my opinion, to his non-leveled up form is the text that now reads, the first time he survives damage, he summons a Mighty Poro. I think that's huge. So basically it's saying you play him and you're getting value out of him right away. So you're essentially getting a 3-cost unit, in most cases, for guaranteed. So it's basically almost the card's paying for itself in some ways, even before leveling up. Plus giving him that 1 damage, it does give him a little bit more flexibility, in my opinion, as to hook targets and help with the ability to kind of clear board and do all that good stuff. So I like it. I'm all for this change. I'm hoping that we see a lot more Braum and a lot more Poro decks and things like that.
I like the change, but I'm worried about the meta.
Actually. Oh yeah, how so?
Because Braum is like a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
You just cannot get past Braum unless you have Culling Strike.
Yeah.
So you have this issue where if you're not an aggro deck, you're not comfortable open attacking at turn 4. You generally want to develop. And if you develop turn 4, they play Braum, there's suddenly a mountain of a man in front of you, and you just cannot attack.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it definitely has its drawbacks, especially if, like you said, if you're not playing something like Calling Strike or you're not Ionia and you're not able to kind of will it back up. So I can get the fear, but I like him. I think the guy needed some love.
I like it.
Shakes
I like it as well.
Yeah, I mean, how it ultimately shakes out, I think is something different. But yeah, it's well needed. Cozer, what are your thoughts? You like the Braum change?
I mean, it's cool for there to be more Poro stuff. Do I think the Braum thing was completely necessary? No. Might have a hot take on that. I feel like he kind of enables a lot now, and the fact that he costs 4 mana, I think he's going to be, I think he's being ran a lot with Ezreal decks right now, and, I haven't played yet today, or yesterday, so I haven't really been catching up with the meta yet, but I think when I was watching streams, I was seeing Braum Ezreal quite a bit, and, I feel like he's strong now. 1-5, you don't think that makes a difference, but he can really chip away at massive units. Obviously he can't pull a Vi or something like that, but he can pull almost every low cost elusive and basically kill it, or at least bring it down to 1 health. So that makes a huge difference. Most 1-cost targets are 1-cost creatures he can basically kill. So I don't know. I feel like he has a lot more value than he did, and now he has a 3/3 overwhelm that he gets. I don't want to say he's overpowered, because I don't think he is, but I haven't played against him much. I know everyone's probably playing against him on the ladder, and I think it's going to take a couple of days for it to catch up. But definitely think Ezreal Braum now is a thing, and that used to not be a thing. Nope. Because it was just Ezreal by itself with Elnux. But I feel like Braum can be slotted in there with Poros now, and you're perfectly fine with that. I don't know. Yang, do you have any more opinions on that, or is that basically what it's like in the ladder right now?
Yeah, I think the Braum buff was something needed and a good step in the right direction, but the way I would have buffed him is just give him +1/+1, not the Mighty Poro, I think.
So you'd rather him be a 1/6?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I get that. I could understand that. Yeah, I mean, I think we could at least all agree that it's nice he got something, and hopefully we see some sort of Braum deck really make a push here for something to stay in meta. So that's interesting.
Have you played Braum in War Mother's deck?
Not in mine. I mean, let me try to think. I've played a couple versions of it since launch. I'm trying to think. So I've run one that's the trend. I think actually I had one Braum in it. I think it was 2 trends, 3 Anivias, and a Braum in one version that I was running. But...
That's probably the reason you don't think Braum is fucking busted.
Yeah?
Yeah, just put 3 Browns in your deck. You're gonna feel it.
3 Braums on a War Mother?
Yeah.
You'll have to maybe like shoot a code over to me or something for one that you recommend.
I'm gonna
because
link the code.
Yeah, because War Mother and this is something that I've said a while ago. So I think in concept, War Mother is my absolute favorite deck in playstyle, hands down. I hate it that it's so slow, and I hate that it kind of falls off meta. But the concept of just like putting my opponent on a timer and saying, you only have so long to kill me, and after that I'm playing a card and I'm just getting free value every turn, and I'm just going to start out chunking you. I love that. I love that. Just I need to play the puzzle of how do I stay alive, and then just win at the very end. I think it's a fun deck, So I'm hoping that maybe it sticks around again. But so let's kind of keep running through here. So that's the champions. Next card is obviously it's not a champion, but it's champion related. It's the Jinx Super Mega Death Rocket. It's now 1 mana. It was 2 before. To me, this doesn't really affect it.
It's massive. It's so
big. I mean it's because typically what
it's
you're playing.
It's just it's a change that I think is okay with happening. It's like Yang said. It's a step in the right direction. I don't think this card needed to cost 2 mana. It's usually put in aggro discard, so I think it's okay for it to cost 1 mana. Because typically Jinx kind of wants to win the game pretty early. Don't really want to go that late game with Jinx.
I mean, the way I viewed it is at 1 mana, I think there's more opportunity that if you play Jinx and you have another card in hand or another 2 cards in hand, you have more opportunity to drain your hand and level her up. And then maybe, you have something else. I don't know if you have something fleeting or whatever, and somehow you're left with 1 mana and you get a chance to play it. That's fine. But other than that, your hand's empty. You got a level Jinx. 2 mana, 1 mana, it's ultimately not making a difference unless you're playing something like, what is it, that casino deck now? That's a slot bot where you're just constantly getting fleeting cards in your hand. It's I don't know. I was fine with it at 2. If it's at 1, okay. So be it.
The last time I saw Jinx was like 2 months ago, so I have no idea how to evaluate this buff.
Yeah, it was an interesting pick. I'm sure they had a reason to do it, but it's not one that I necessarily saw coming. So getting into the followers and spells here. So Genevieve Elmhurt goes from a 4 power to a 5 power, 4 health to 5 health. Keeps a 6 cost. This is cool. I like this. I mean, primarily the deck right now that I'm playing on ladder, and I haven't fully set on anything, is a version of Bannerman. And I basically replaced my Cythrius with this. Just because I like the scout mechanic. I like that you're still kind of getting a nice leveled up board, whenever you swing in with it. But this one, you kind of get an extra swing with the scout. And you get the challenger unit, which I think is kind of big when you're playing Bannerman because you want to make those effective trades. So I like it. I mean, I did Bannerman last season to get from Plat to Diamond. So, running this to maybe do the same Plat to Diamond on ladder, I think would be fun. But yeah, I like this change. I like it a lot. I don't know if it's going to keep Cythria out of my deck, but for now it feels good.
I like Genevieve. Having I don't think like the 5 power is as important, but having 5 health, like she can you play Genevieve, you snipe 2 things, and then she stays alive, and then you have something on the board still, and she's like a pseudo Bannerman. So your attack token turn 6 is massive. It's really good, and I really like the fact that like she combines Scout with Challenger. It's not like it doesn't need like vulnerable. It's like the 5 mana Scout from Bildroder has. I like it. I don't know if she's good enough to like replace Citri in every deck, but in the dedicated scout deck, she's definitely a thing to consider.
Yeah, I would agree. Next card is, and this is one that I think everybody's happy that it took some sort of change.
I thought you weren't happy about this.
It's not my preferred change, but I'm happy that it's not what it was.
I thought you were still salty about this.
I still believe this should be a slow card, but I think this at least temporarily kills it. So Unyielding Spirit, it was obviously the pain in the ass 8-mana burst spell that makes it so an ally can't die or take damage. It goes from burst to fast. I think it's I don't want to call it dead in the water, but I think it's definitely on its last breaths. Until we get more Obliterate cards.
Well, the fact that it's not burst just changed that. We already talked that it's 8 mana. If it misses, it's gone. Like, you just wasted 8 mana. It costs a lot of mana right now, and it's too easy to interact with it. It didn't make a difference whether it was slow or fast. I preferred it on fast because it's still going to make the card less dead than if it's slow. But it's going to be a dead card for the next little while. It's like someone said in the Masters Discord this week that Ruinations should be burst. It's a weird take. It's a really weird take. Unyielding being burst was kind of the same kind of take. You're kind of like, okay, Rito, what were you thinking with releasing this card on burst? Like, I get it. You wanted to try it out. We tried it. We tried it for a month. We hated it. Thank you for switching it. This is what everyone wanted to see, whether it was fast or slow. I don't think it made a difference. To make this card more alive, it probably needs to be dropped down a little bit in mana, but then it gets scary, and you have to think about it a little bit more. But, I mean, that's how most cards in this game are. You should have to think about them. So, I would be okay if they reduce the mana to make the card a little bit more alive, but I'm also okay with it being a dead card too, because it's a very, very strong card. Very, very strong, and hard to remove if you're against certain stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, I like, with it being fast too, it really, if you're still playing it, you have to think about it, saying, do I want to take this risk knowing that they have a chance to interact and stop it and be being down that much mana? Whereas before, it was just like, oh, no risk. I'm going to play it. My unit's going to guaranteed stay alive, and they're going to have to find a way to deal around it. So I like it. I think it was something needed. It definitely puts it in a rough spot to be in decks right now. A lot of other things could be, I think, slotted in. What about you? Yang, do you like it on fast, or
I'm glad this card is dead. I'm really glad this card is dead. Because, this card is a design flaw. It has a design flaw in, a tournament environment.
Yeah.
Because, the enemy has this card, and they're going to play this card. The only thing you needed to think about playing Unyielding Spirit is, can they kill me this turn? If the answer is not, you just play Unyielding, you win the game.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
I think if they didn't want to kill the card, they could just make it 10 mana. Then it would be a hard card to play.
Yeah.
But making it fast and just killing the card, I think is the right move.
Yeah, I mean, if there was more Obliterate in game, I think I wouldn't have as much of an issue with it being on burst. But really, when it's the number of cards that can obliterate something is as low as it is, it's not something that I typically love. Like, imagine if a Vengeance, instead of was killing a unit, it was obliterate a unit. I'd be okay with that being a burst sun. But, we could talk all day on that card. But moving on, Basilisk Rider. So we get a change, goes from 2 health to 3 health, giving it a little bit more survivability. And Yang, you mentioned that people are experimenting this right now with Noxus decks. Do you think that this is something that's going to find a good home in the current meta, or do you think it's going to just be experimental and drop back off?
That card is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really good, because you're already threatening a lot of damage, and Basilisk Rider, as long as it does not whiff, you're good.
Yeah,
it's gonna find 3 to 4 damage. Yep. I think it's a really good card.
Yeah, I mean, plus getting a 6/4 on it for 4 mana isn't too bad. It feels kind of nice. I mean, I'm curious to kind of see what builds around it is in the Nox scene and what it kind of ultimately gets.
It's basically crowd favorite, but you don't have to play spiders, so it's actually a good deck.
Sure, that's a really good way to think of it, and I never thought of it that way. But yeah, so interesting this way, and a lot of times too, when we're talking about this, is they did say, and I know this isn't an epic card, but they did state at the beginning of the patch notes that they were looking really to try to focus on epics and things like that maybe didn't get a lot of play. So as we go through them, just keep an eye on those. That is something that they were looking at. And the reason why I bring it up is because our next one, Captain Farron. So this one, I love this change, and I'm hoping stuff kind of builds around it. So old text basically read that whenever you played him in game, it would transform all the cards in your hand into decimates, which was cool. But honestly, in my opinion, I was always worried to slot him into a deck or play him, just because I thought there was more opportunity for him to kill my curve or kill my playstyle than help it. I didn't want to destroy any of my deck because if they know my entire hand's decimates, then they can try to flood or basically just deal with it. But now what it does is when you summon him, you just basically create 3 decimates in your hand, which is a hell of a lot of damage and something that they're going to have to deal with. But at least it gives you, as the person playing it, a little bit more play opportunity around it. So I love this change. I think it's a great way to rework him.
I like it. I think you can just slap for on in any control Nox deck and be good with it, because you're gonna have late game. If you're playing Bilgewater Noxus, a current TFGP Bilgewater Noxus deck, I think Faron is a pretty good card in there, with Swing 2. I just don't think he's an aggro card.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very control card.
Yeah, I'd agree. Next one, Aurora Borealis goes from a 7-cost card to a 6-cost, still creates 2 random Poros, and puts 2 Poro snacks in your hand. It's cool. I think this is giving us a chance between this and the next card we're going to talk about that we're going to see some Poro decks really start to develop, and obviously being a Poro named show and somebody that Cozer can attest to in beta just wanted to play Poro decks. This is an exciting change that they're starting to put a little bit of love this way. So let's combine this and maybe Poro Herder and talk about them together. So Poro Herder also went under a change. So he went from a 4-cost 3/4 to a 2-cost 2/3. And it used to say when summoned, draw 2 Poros if you have a Poro ally. Now it just says when I'm summoned, draw a Poro ally if you have a Poro ally. So it's killing off one of your Poro draws. But I like this. I think these 2 cards help Freljord curve out a little bit more, especially with the new Braum. And I think it's really giving us an opportunity to see a strong Poro deck develop. It may not be a tier 1 deck at the end of the day, but I think maybe tier 2, tier 3 for this patch wouldn't be necessarily too hard for it to come by. What do you guys think?
More like tier F, G, something like that. I wouldn't call it a strong tier. Poros are still going to be a meme for a while, man. 1 mana, 1/1s, all around the board, unless buffed. I don't know, dude. It's like they're aggro, but when you play the decks that they're a part of, you can't really build aggro around it, so it just kind of becomes irrelevant. It's like throwing Teemo and aggro burn. It makes sense because it's one of the best 1 mana 1/1s that you could literally drop. But Poros, man, I don't know. It's gonna be all right. I don't think it's gonna be a S tier deck, and if it is, like I've said multiple times on this show, that's gonna be bad for the meta. If Poros become rank 1 deck, it's going to be bad for the meta, just like Yasuo being rank 1 or S tier deck is really bad for the meta. Stun meta is really, really rough to play against too.
Yep. What about you, Yang? You like these or?
I have an interesting take on this change. In these changes specifically,
yikes!
I think Poro decks, like a dedicated Poro deck, is bad, but I think Aurora Borealis is a good card.
Okay.
Like unironically, because like the thing they try to do was like they moved like Poro Herder was a fine card. It was a really good card, by the way.
Okay.
They changed it from 4 to 2 because Braum was moved to 4 cost. So they didn't want like those 2 cards to compete with the same slot in the Poro deck. So they just nerfed the Poro Herder. So basically, Poro Herder is a bad card. What you do now is you play Braum and Lux, and then like Lonely Poro, I think maybe,
Okay.
and just a Control-y shell and the Masia Freljord. You just don't play on other Poros at all.
Okay.
And you just use Borealis to flip Lux. I've played against this deck like 5 times today and I lost all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, getting a burst flip on it.
Well, I guess it's that. It would be Borealis and Harsh Winds too. Would you run Harsh Winds like for easy flips on Lux or no?
Yeah, I think I'll probably run Harsh Winds. You just do like the old Fiora Lux deck without unyielding, and you just put Borealis and Braum.
I think. Did BBG make a deck with a? I think he was playing a Lux. Like it was like a Lux Poro or something like that, but it wasn't really Poro focus. It was Lux Braum, but I think it had that condition in it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll have to look into it. But I was wondering why, but that makes perfect sense now. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, like the dedicated Poro deck is really bad, but Lonely Poro is a really good card. Braum is an insanely good card.
Yeah.
And Borealis can just burst speed flip Lux, and then it gives you another 2 Poros next that you can use to make another the light thingy, the laser.
Yeah. So I guess when I was talking shit about Poros, I should probably say yes. Lonely Poros are a good card. They're just Poros aren't a win condition. They're rarely a win condition. So because of that, it doesn't make the cards bad. It just makes them hard to tech around. It's not like now you could build a deck around Captain Farron easily. I don't know about easily, but you could at least build something around it because it has a win condition attached to it. Whereas a Lonely Poro, what are you gonna do? Give it a Poro snack? It's not a win condition. It could win you the game. It's unlikely to win you the game. You still have to have other stuff in your deck that can win you the game.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, but either way, interesting take. I like it. I like the way you're thinking there. So let's move on to the next 2 here. We got She Who Wonders and They Who Endure. We'll start with She Who Wonders. Basically, they added regeneration to her. I honestly can't.
I don't get it.
Determine what it is because it's been so long. Yes, it's been so long since I played She Who Wonders that I can't imagine this being a reason to put her back in.
Huge buff. Maybe if it was like Overwhelm, but like I don't know about regen. I mean, it's kind of cool. It makes it for a really good blocker, but it costs 10 mana, and that's really, really late game. You have to try to stay alive till then, so with a lot of the decks out there, I don't know how well it's going to do against that.
Yeah,
if it went back to Obliterating Champions, it would be good. Even without regeneration.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I'd agree to that. I mean, because it's something I'm thinking I'm like, okay, typically by turn 10, whenever you get a chance to play her, and to invest all of your non-spell mana into her. I mean, there's not that many things on board that are 4 power or less that, I would be too worried about. Typically at that point in the game, there's a couple hard hitters that are really what you're trying to avoid. And sure, you got a blocker on things, but she doesn't have Overwhelm. She doesn't have anything to kind of push in with it. So, I mean, you can still have somebody play that. And if you just have anything in your deck that's low, like let's say you're playing Shadow House and you're something like Spectral Raiders or something like that, you got enough chump blockers to kind of still deal with her. So I don't know. It's it's no big deal to me. I'd like to see something else change for it, but I don't know what.
What if she obliterated every 4-power card, even in your deck too, not just your hand? What if it kind of was like Maokai, where it like obliterated like basically everything?
That'll be broken.
You think so? Even for 10 mana? I mean, yeah, I guess because there's a lot of decks that run too many small cost followers. So, I mean, it would also be really shit against some decks too, if you think about it. There's some decks that like Fizz decks, like they only use spells. So, I mean, it would be basically irrelevant, but it would kill every Fizz in your hand. If it did champions, yes. If it just did followers, there's some decks that putting down this card would literally do nothing.
Yeah.
But then other decks, it would just completely fry everything.
Yeah.
How's Deep in the current meta? Because, like I said, I haven't had time to play in the past 2 days. Is Deep still very up there, Yang, or is it kind of fallen off a little bit?
People are playing Burn and aggro, so Deep is not a very good choice. It's a good deck, but it's not a good choice because people are playing Burn and Elusives.
Okay, so it's going to be a good. It's still going to be a good tournament deck then, but probably not ladder. Okay, understood. Well, let's move on, I guess.
Yeah, Vehindor goes from a 6 cost to a 7 cost. This is fine. I think it's still, the decks that play like the Endor one with Callisto right now, I think it's still a good deck. It just gives you a little bit longer to make a payoff for the Endor. So I'm okay with this. I don't think it makes the deck dead in the water or unplayable, but I don't think it necessarily swings anything in the other direction as well.
I just wish Atrocity was also nerfed to 7 mana. So
you
couldn't
play
both at the same turn.
Yeah, I mean at least this way you have to wait until turn 10. You can't do it on 9, which always felt kind of gross. But yeah, so I mean you're really weighing it out another turn. But I would agree. I think making Atros as well, that would be fine. I actually was playing against it earlier today, and somebody went to do just that. Basically, just play it and kill it, and I just frostbite the hell out of it. And so I was like, okay, that's no problem to me. You killed it for 0 damage. But next card. So this is an interesting one too. This is a one that a lot of people were suggesting or bringing up whenever they said, what epics do you want to change? And it's Run Shadowblade, and this is a very interesting rework. So originally he was an 8 cost 6/4, and it basically said when the enemy summons a follower, granted ephemeral, which in my opinion was just kind of trash. I mean, 4 health, you can clear it off very, very easily, and it had a high cost to play, and again at that point it wasn't getting a lot of value. But right now the card now is a 4 cost 3/3. And whenever you strike, you create a Shadow Fiend in hand, which is obviously the 1 mana 4/3 unit with ephemeral. So I think this is a cool rework. I don't know if it's gonna make it any more or less playable, but I like that they kind of took it in a completely different direction. What are your thoughts?
Hecarim deck, maybe? Would this work in like the Hecarim deck that's going around a little bit in tournament, Yang, or probably not because there's still better cards to run in it?
The first time I saw this change, I was thinking about why they would make Rend Shadowblade make Shadow Fiends, and the first answer that got my head was that the ephemeral deck is bad because you don't have a blocker. So when you play ephemeral, you're just hoping to kill them as fast as you can because they're gonna have a board and you're not gonna have a board because they're playing ephemerals. So Rend Shadowblade would basically make the Shadow Fiends to be your blockers. But I don't think the card is as good because it's a 4-drop and it has 3 attack. And quick attack is a good keyword, but I don't know. You could just make a quick attack deck and a bunch of challengers, give challenger to something, and it would make the cut, but it's because it has quick attack, not because the card is good. I think the card is still bad.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than it was, though.
Yeah.
Oh, 100% with that. I can agree on that. 100%. But it's still a bad card. I 100% also agree with that. I don't know. I think they changed it. They were like, but now it feels like this purple gem at the bottom of the card is not accurate. This is not a fucking epic card anymore. Like, the cost of it, like what it does, like I don't feel like it's an epic, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's still fine calling it an epic. I mean, there's other cards that at least do something similar. Oh god, I'm trying to look at it right now just because I know it doesn't see a lot of play, but it's the epic. It's the one where whenever she strikes, I think it's an Ionia card as well.
Silent Shadows here.
Yes.
I was gonna talk about this exact card.
Yeah, I was like, she's almost the same thing as an epic, but just cheaper. You know, it's just when she hits, she's ephemeral, but you just get her back in your hand. So, yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with still calling it an epic.
I think Windmage hit it in chat, but yeah, we'll move on.
Okay. Next card. So this is J, and I'm gonna kill the pronunciation. Is Medarda?
Yeah.
So J, but so J goes from a 6 cost unit that was 6/6 to a 6 cost that is now 4/4. Before it said elusive, when I'm targeted, draw 1. Now it just says when I'm targeted and survive, draw 1. I had never played this card before. I still have no desire to play it. I mean, is this good now? Like,
no, Jay got worse. Like, if they kept the elusive on him, and like,
that's what I was saying. I'm like, this doesn't give me any need to feel like I need to play it, and I'm like, am I missing something here?
It's also the fact that he has to survive. Before it was when I'm targeted, draw 1. So it didn't matter if he died or if he lived. He still drew a card.
It did.
Okay, so is it just rewording? Is that all it is?
They just made it clear. Before, if you got vengeance, you would not draw your card.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I thought it was. I've literally never seen this card played.
I've never seen it played.
I played against Ren one game. So these are two cards that I've literally never played against through my climb from Iron to Masters last season and or in beta season and last season from, well, I kind of stayed in plat. I never saw it. I didn't play as much last season.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. So
Jay got nerfed. That's the best way to describe it. I think Windmage got it. He got a nerf. Yeah. They needed to reduce his cost, but I don't think they needed to do everything else to him. And keeping him elusive was would have been good.
So I agree. Speaking of nerfs,
I think that like the J Medarda thing, like J is an engine. Like they call it an engine in card games. Like he's a draw engine, which is good to like. If you reduce the engine cost, it's like gadgets and action here in Hearthstone. But I don't think like they balance J Medarda around this current card pool, because I don't know if you guys saw the leaked voice files for the Targon expansion. They have some Medarda family cards in there, so my bet is that J Medarda is being balanced around the next expansion. And that's maybe why they made him this way.
Yeah. I mean,
that would make a lot more sense.
Long term, that makes sense. I'd be okay with that.
Be much better. But no, for sure. I haven't heard too many of the voice lines or anything like that. I don't typically listen to that stuff. We don't talk about it as much on the show until we know for sure something's getting released. We don't want to give out the wrong information, or it's something that's coming out in 6 months from now. Not in a couple of months, because I think it's it's the end of July, or is it August?
We get one in August, and then we'll get one 6 months from then.
Yeah,
so every 6 months after August.
Yeah.
So but speaking of nerfs, let's go to the next one that I believe is
huge.
Dead in the water, completely dead. So Escaped Abomination. We go from a 4 health to a 3 health. This card no longer fucking terrifies me. I mean, I am all for this change. I think it is well needed. Especially with as strong as Endure was towards the end of last season. This is now something that there are enough 2-cost units that do 3 damage or spells at 2 mana that you can deal with this. I'm fine. I am perfectly fine with this. Because before, I mean, the big draw of this was you do something like play Curse Keeper on turn 2, Butcher, and then all of a sudden you would have like 4/4 and a 3/2 on turn 2, and just you were just swinging in hard and fast, But now it's like, okay, at least I'll be able to block this, take out the 4 with relative ease, as long as I'm getting a good curve.
I like this change, but not for the same reason as you like.
Okay.
I'll probably start playing this card now instead of not playing it anymore. Yeah, because
really?
it's also like the deck I'm bringing is Callista Tiana, and it's like a Misriff deck, and you're basically playing around generating Misriffs with Callista, like using Callista as a value engine instead of like just a glorified Zed. And the change to the Escaped Abomination from 4 health to 3 health makes it weaker than the Wraith Caller. So you can actually play Cursed Keeper in his package and not like with the Callista Revive with an Abomination. So like it's a better early game package than the Arachnoid Horror, in my opinion. And I'll definitely experiment with this.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to think it. I mean, definitely not as something that I would have thought about, but as somebody that just saw it as indoor way, I'm like, I am glad this thing is no longer 4.
Yeah, like the card is definitely worse, and I'm glad people are gonna stop playing indoor. But I'll start playing this card.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like the thought process there. Next card, Harrowing, goes from 10 mana to 9. Okay, fine.
They need to make this card burst with Ruination. Remember, Masters Discord said it. It must be right.
Gross. But yeah, Harrowing is fine. Any hot takes on that, or kind of keep plowing through?
I'm going to the next one because I don't really think we should have hot takes on it. But if Yang wants to add something, go ahead.
Okay.
Yang looked like he was about to say something. So if you want to say something, go ahead. Do you have anything about Harrowing?
About Harrowing? It's a good card.
Okay.
Perfect. Good deal.
You can play Harrowing with Deny Up.
Yep, that's true. Next one, Drag Dredgers. This is good. I mean, I think it's a 1-drop. I think it got a hell of a lot of value before it as a 2/1 and getting tossed towards your deep. I still think this is a card you put in your deck if you're playing deep, just for the toss mechanic. And, it's basically just like a bird or a spider or anything like that. It's just, you get on, you're really playing it for its effect and getting a chump blocker, which is all it was after turn 1 anyway. So, yeah, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with taking a little bit of damage off of him, especially because deep, I wasn't worried about necessarily winning early and trying to burst him down. So that 1 damage does nothing in my deep strategy. Other than
I don't like this change.
You don't like what?
I don't like this change. I think it's the wrong way to nerf deep. Because if nerfing the attack on Drag Dredgers just like makes your blocking worse. So it's way harder to survive the early game because like all your 1 and 2 drops are 1 attack now, so you just basically cannot deal with aggro.
Yeah.
But like if you wanted to nerf deep, you could just change the toss number, like make him toss 2 cards or so. I don't know, because like to me it feels like Riot is nerfing deep because like of massive majority of low elo community being pissed around Nautilus.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds about right. Sounds like something Reddit would complain about.
Yeah, because like deep is not a really good deck, but you need like I do realize that like if you're new to the game and you're like trying to play your new deck, like your homebrew deck, and these dudes start playing like big fish after big fish after big fish, you're probably gonna get pissed and
go play
say
Redstone.
that it's broken and it needs to be changed. So like I think Riot is like catering to these people. I don't think they should because they're just bad players who need to get good. Like no offense, they just need to get good, but I don't think it's the right way to nerf deep.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, it sucked when he went down and hit you with like 2-1, but like I get what you're saying too, because now this card does like Deep just got even worse against aggro now, and that's kind of like it's one matchup that's really really bad against. So I don't like the change because yeah, I'm with you on that. Like I feel like tossing it gets into Deep way too quickly, but at the same time like it's sometimes really hard to get into Deep. Deep has like a weird thing that everyone thinks it's like one of the strongest decks out there, but like honestly, every time I experiment with it, I can't even hold a 50% win rate on it. Maybe I'm not playing it properly, but I've tried multiple variations of it. I feel like it's a really good tournament deck, but like I feel like sometimes it struggles a little bit on ladder depending on what you play against and what the current meta is. But yeah, I can definitely tell you that someone in like low elo 100% probably hates Deep a lot because they don't understand how to play against the mechanics.
Yeah, like if I was new to the game and my enemy played a 0-mana 7/7 after playing a 7-mana 13/13, I'll be pretty pissed.
That's true. Okay, that makes sense. Next card.
Huge change, man.
Next card, Mind Meld. It goes from 8 cost to 7. Okay.
Hog.
Yeah. I think that covers about all of our thoughts on it.
Sounds about right, basically. I don't understand this. Hopefully Yang can fill me in on this change. I don't really understand why I need to be brought up to 2 health. Is there a big reason for this? Because it just kind of seems weird to me. Super weird, champ.
I also do not understand.
Same.
I think this card is nuts. It's really good now. It's like an actually really good card. But before this, it was a really bad card. But now it has one more health. It's a really good card.
Yeah, just weird to me. Like they buffed the shit out of the card, and I just read now because this was the only thing that I didn't read in the patch notes was why they did it, and it's like they just want barrel decks to feel more effective for aggressive Bilgewater decks. Like, okay, cool, but like I don't think it needed to happen. But anywho,
yeah, I mean,
let's go to the real cards, the big topics to talk about that people are still mad about.
Yeah, so there's still some heat around this. So obviously, forgive me, I could not sit still today. But one of the things that was a big hot topic before the season ended was the whole plunder and what's it called, steal mechanics in game. And so what they decided to do is they've added a keyword that is called nab, which is draw a non-champion card from the bottom of an enemy deck. And they also made I guess only really one change to a stealing card, and that is Black Market Merchant. So he now goes from 2 health to 1, which I 100% agree was necessary. Bring him to 2 health to 1. I like the steal from the bottom.
Bring him to 0 health and delete the card. I'd be okay with that too.
I like the steal from the bottom. I just feel like dealing still feels bad. It doesn't matter where they're taking it from out of your bottom. I actually saw somebody say they feel like it feels worse now just because when you get something stolen that is like your win condition or something that you desperately needed, and knowing that not only was it stolen, but it was from the bottom of your deck and you had a really shit draw or shuffle that round, it just made it feel worse of like, oh God, I had a bad shuffle and they took it. But I don't know if this solves that problem. It makes Freljord feel a hell of a lot better because now all your buffed units that are sitting at the top of your deck are still safe. I honestly think Pilfered Goods needs to be a 3-mana fast spell.
I feel like Nab just needs to be changed. The name needs to be called Cry. And like it's for your enemy to cry when you get plunder effects off and they start stealing your shit. Because when it goes off and Black Market Merchants down, dude, like people are talking about like, oh well, if it showed the cards that got stolen, that would help. Yeah, but you'd still be pissed when Unyielding Spirit was 8 mana burst and you could see that someone has your card. Now it's useless. You only had one of those in your deck. They could literally have all 3 atrocities from your Tempo Endure in their hand, and now you don't have an extra win condition.
And Wooden Mage actually pointed out in chat, which is an interesting thing and a good way to think of it too, is that this actually buffed Yoink decks, because by taking things from the bottom of your deck, it's not getting you any closer to your champion cards. At least whenever you're drawing it off the top, you're sitting there saying, okay, it's getting me closer to champions, it's getting me closer to this. But, yoinking from the bottom, it's statistically not putting you any closer. That's... It's still problematic. I don't know how they fix it. I think the mechanic has a spot in this game. I just don't know what it is.
I think they needed to follow Magic's route and do it that way. I know that you were really happy when they added yoink mechanics and ways to steal people's cards and be able to do that. This feels a little too much like it's Hearthstone right now, and it's just... it's a little weird, man. I don't think
I'd also be okay
be like that.
I think I'd also be okay if when they stole it, it became a fleeting card. That
would make more sense. I would be,
because then it's sitting there saying, okay, you got it, but if you don't play it right now and maybe mess up your strategy or your curve, it's just going away, and then neither of us get it. I think that would be okay in my mind too.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it. Like, nerfing it would be making it fleeting and also make it so you can see the card that they grabbed. But I don't know. People are still going to hate on this mechanic. This mechanic is not fun to play against. And even playing it, like, I know there's some streamers that played this quite a bit before it got nerfed. I know, like, Gummy's a perfect example. Gummy hates this mechanic, but he also played this mechanic with Karma at one point, too, when it first came out with the Klepto...
wasn't he one of the founders of, like, the Klepto decks?
He wasn't a founder. He took an idea that someone else had and just made it better. He was running Karma TF, and he was basically stealing people's cards and literally running pilfered goods and stealing, like, multiple cards at, like, 10. Like, it was nuts when it went off. It was it made you really sad to watch playing against, but it was funny at the time, but I feel like more and more as it went on, like, it wasn't even fun for him to play it anymore, because, like, you can only imagine how frustrating it is on the other end when you're stealing all their cards. It's a feels bad moment, and I think it's a lot of the reason why Magic doesn't really have cards like this. I don't know. It's a hot take to talk about this. It's like a weird topic to talk about, because there's a lot of people that hate it, and then there's people that don't want it to go, and then I think...
we've been talking about a lot, but Yang, what's your take?
I have a very strong opinion in this topic. It's why I wanted to, like, hear what you guys thought about it.
Okay. Me and Cozer have literally been running this argument in circles for the past 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, like, honestly, I hate this mechanic. I hate it. I fucking abominate this. I just can't want to see it go. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's not bad to have in the game. Just like you had a yielding spirit, like, it's not a bad thing to have in the game. Mm-hmm. Like, the game needs these kind of, like, things that happen once in a while. I think it's more of I think people have an issue with Yoink because of the, like, consistency factor. Because, like, 1 month ago, Yoink did not get nerfed, and it didn't get changed at all. But still, people didn't mind Yoink. But then you just kept playing against Yoink, and the frustration just kept accumulating. And then you just wanted something to happen. You just wanted it to go, you know? Like, and I think one of the biggest issues is that I hate plunder. I think plunder is not a mechanic. It's not a restriction. I don't think, like, a card that needs plunder to be activated is, like, something you need to do, because you need to, like, damage the enemy nexus to win the game. So it's gonna happen eventually. You're eventually gonna damage the enemy nexus. So I don't think plunder is a requirement, and I think Yoink is part of the reason. Like, Yoink being as bad as it is is a byproduct of plunder not being an actual requirement. You know what I'm saying? If those cards were even harder to activate, like actually harder to activate, they would be worse, and you would see less of them, and then you'd be frustrated less playing against it, and you'd think it's a fine thing.
Oh, okay. So just make them all cost 9 mana, and then we'll be fine. Black Market Merchant.
I mean,
Q1 costs 9 mana.
I don't know.
Makes sense. Pilfered good. 9 mana burst. We can keep it like that. It sounds like a good time. Yeah. No, I feel you. We could talk about this forever. We gotta let the meta kind of play out now. Obviously it's still gonna be there. It's still a frustrating mechanic to play against. I don't know how Riot fixes this and whether they listen to the community and listen to some of the players, because there's some people that are really frustrated with this mechanic and literally don't want to play this game anymore. Have won and played other games because it's just a really frustrating mechanic to play against, and they don't feel like grinding the ladder anymore. It feels exhausting to play against.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think that like you have that picture in your mind. Like the game starts, you're against a build drawer for your deck. It has MF and Sejuani. You have the attack token turn 1. You have no 1-drop. They play Omen Hawk. You know it's gonna hit you, and you know they're gonna play the frog. You know it's gonna happen, and it does happen, and you feel frustrated. It just
Truth.
And you just want to quit the game. Like I did that. I quit the game. I literally stopped playing the game for like a whole day because it happened to me like 5 games in a row.
Yep. Yeah, and I definitely don't think you're alone in that feeling. So. I mean, work needs to be done. I just don't know the answer to it. Like you said, I think the mechanic has a spot in the game in some form, but I don't think this is it. So we'll have to see.
So some fun stuff like the cosmetic board, because all these card text consistencies. I don't really think we need to talk about that. So let's go to the personalization board.
Yeah, so obviously new personalizations. The Lee Sin board came out. Looks cool if you like Lee Sin. Maybe pick it up. The thing I like more is Von Yip is now a Guardian, which is interesting because people are now learning Von Yip was the cat in the card and not the professor. So that's kind of cool to see.
Wait, I didn't actually know that.
Yep.
I thought this was a cute kitty cat. I didn't actually know its name because I saw this leaked earlier on.
If you go to Mobalytics and you pull up the card art for Von Yip, and a lot of people times you don't see it because I think when you play him, you don't see the cat, but when you see the full card art, you see the cat on it. And yeah, the Von Yip is actually the genius. And when you play the card too, you'll hear actually some of the lines like he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I do think we should do that," and you'll hear the cat meowing and things like that. So you know that the cat's telling him what to do. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see this in here. Plus, it's just a cool Guardian.
Give it a pillow and it's basically Yumi.
Sorry.
Fun fact: Von Yip is also the card in Pursuit of Perfection and in Subversible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't. So let me see. I need to pull those cards now, but I assumed he probably would be, but. Yeah, that's him. That's awesome. Yeah, and that's one thing too I like about this game too is there's so many cards that when you actually start looking at the art and you start looking at them more, you'll be like, holy shit, there's Fiora in the back. Like in Laurent Challenger, I believe that's the card, but Fiora's like face palming in the back. Like, oh, son of a bitch, I hate this dude. You know, like there's a lot of kind of cool little Easter eggs in some of those card arts and things that pull things together. So
yeah, it's a tournament that's happening, and like Fiora wins that tournament, and you can see in the flipped Fiora card art, you can see the Cavalier there.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Let's see how I look. Yeah, she. See, that's cool. I never knew he was in that one. Like I never paid that much attention, but I did see it in his, which I liked. The question is now, who's the guy in third? But anyway, so yeah, so a little bit more of a customization there. We got some card arts. Honestly, I like the Misfortune one and the Fizz one. So on Lee Sin. But the bigger one, 3 new emotes. We got Fizz, we got Cytheria, and we got V. And I think we can all agree Cytheria is the best one of the new emotes by a long shot. there's also a bundle if you
I
like
didn't
the
know that
least.
there was a bundle. That's cool. Yep. I'm glad they're starting to do stuff like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, which I think it's like 200 coins or something cheaper if you do the bundle as opposed to buying the board and the card back separately, and you get an icon too.
1332. So yeah, definitely it has to be discounted because the boards itself I think are $950.
Like 900.
And I think the cards are
like 5 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so you get a little bit of a discount if you like the board and you like the card back. Pick up the bundle. Save some money, get an icon.
All right, let me go down because we're not looking at the expedition stuff because we don't talk about that. Vault cap. Oh, I didn't know the bot account bans. Jeez. Yep. Wow, this is good.
So Vault's now cap at 25. Apparently people were botting the game just to get infinite things, or infinite vaults. So that fixed. I never hit 25, and I can't imagine the amount of playing it would take to get into. I think the highest I've ever gotten is like 15, 16 for the new vaults. So if you get to 25, man, kudos to you if you do it right. So, but yeah, other than that, a couple small bug fixes, things like that. But we'll kind of leave that for you guys to read on your free time. So let's kind of then, unless before we close out patch notes, Yang, Cozer, any thoughts on a whole? Do you like them? Do you think it's going to be an interesting, really 4 weeks? Because they say they don't do big changes between us, so it should be at least 4 weeks before we see major changes.
Well, to me, the most important thing was the ladder change. So
yeah.
There's not like we're still getting to masters. Once we get to master and we see how the system is, if the system is good, the patch was worth it. If the system is bad, the patch was useless.
Yeah. I think in a month we'll really have enough weight because when there's only a few people in there, it's not so bad. But when we start getting like 1,000, 2,000 people in masters, that's definitely whenever you really start seeing things pay off. So, I'm really interested for the master ladder and hopefully it's a good improvement. Anyway, so that should do it for the news. So let's go into the deck highlight. And so, Yang, you brought with us a pretty interesting deck. You want to kind of give us the walkthrough as Cozer pulls it up?
Yeah, basically, the way we usually do this is we go through mulligan, what you usually mulligan for, what it's strong against, what it's weak against, the overall deck mechanics, and like how you run it. And obviously, I don't think we mentioned it, but this is a tournament deck. This is not really a ladder deck. You can ladder with it if you want, but use at your own risk.
Yeah, like I ladder with this deck, but I mean, if you're facing Kinku elusives, you probably should not ladder with this deck. But if you're facing a lot of control, you could ladder with this deck. It's a really good deck. It's just not good into like burn and elusives and the faster decks that you commonly see in ladder. So it can probably tank your rank.
Yeah, interesting. And in chat, people are actually pretty excited about this. So why don't you give us a run through as to how to play this deck? What win conditions are and all that. We'll turn it over to you.
So the main thing about the deck is that when Callista was first changed, like you remember when she was 4 depths level up and the new mechanic, I didn't like the idea of playing Callista as a glorified deck in an aggro deck. I think that Callista should be used as a value generator, and that's why I made a deck with her summoning the Wraithcaller. So like every time you attack with Callista, you summon the Wraithcaller is gonna pull a Mistwraith. But I don't like the deck being just a Wraith. I didn't like the deck being just a Wraith deck, so I just slapped in like Tiana Crown Guard. So you reach to a point in the late game when Tiana dies, you have a flip Callista. Every time you attack with Callista, Tiana refreshes your attack token like once a turn, but you're probably having multiple Callistas or like multiple good attacking units, so you can make good use of the rally. And the deck was basically like put together. It was the first deck that like competitive played Chain Vest back in the day, because it was very hard to flip Callista at 4 decks. But once she got buffed to 3 deaths, it was really easy to like flip her and Chain Vest was not needed anymore. So just swap Chain Vest to other spells. But it's a really good deck. You just mainly play it as a Mistwraith deck. and if you get to flip Callista, you basically like win the game, I think.
Nice. Now, in chat, they're saying it's rough against deep. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a rough matchup against deep. You can win the matchup against deep, but it's very difficult because generally it's not a really good deck at dealing with big stuff like Endure or deep. You can deal with like mid-range decks, you can deal with Bannerman, you can deal with like Sidroni MF, or you can deal with like the new Tempo Endure list. You could actually, it was a good deck into that list because it only had small minions and you have a lot of fearsomes. It's basically a fearsome deck.
Okay.
And it's not just really good with dealing with deep, but you can win the matchup, I think, with enough resets or like enough, because like you can reach to a point you can just like never play Tiana and just keep Callista on the board with Rekindler dead. So every time you swing with Callista, she's gonna summon a Rekindler, and the Rekindler is gonna summon another Callista. So you have infinite Callista generation.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And now, let me ask you this too, and this is a little bit off topic, but I think we forgot to ask at the beginning of the show is, you said that this is a tournament deck more so than a ladder. What have you been playing on ladder? Like, what have you been having luck with?
Since the ladder reset, I'm playing Lucians at tempo. I'm basically only playing this deck. I'm already like diamond 2 with it. I think it's really good because everyone's playing aggro and burn, and you can just tempo it out. You can just like outrace them, I think.
Yeah. And let me ask you this too: is since you're our first guest from kind of a different area outside of the normal NA scene, how do you see the lore community and gameplay and tournaments and on the ladder for folks around your area, compared to us?
How can I phrase this? So Brazil as a country and culture, like it has a very competitive culture. It has a very like result driven community. So like coming from like a soccer mainstream, like you want your team to be the best. You want them to win everything, and like if you don't win, you're like the worst thing ever. So the culture is like very result based. You need to win. You need to win. You need to win. You just need to get better. So people in the competitive scene, they really try to be as best as they can, and I really admire this. And I'm glad that they do it in a healthy way. It's not like they close themselves and they just don't share information. They just, like they're assholes. No, they're actually good people. They just want to be good. Like they don't care about not being the best, but they just want to be the best that they can be.
Okay.
Yeah, to add on to that, Smithel, is so I kind of talked about it a little bit last week, but I started working with a team called Team IQ, which Yangzera is one of the players for Team IQ, and we have, I think, currently 4 Brazilian players. Is that right, Yang? I think it's 4.
Yeah, it's currently 4. It's gonna go up to 6.
Yeah.
Soon.
So our Brazilian roster is insane. Like we have Sudra, we have Yang, we have Ina. What?
Yan.
Yeah. Okay. Guerra. He's nuts too. We have Black Boss, and then I know we can't really talk about it right now, but we have other 2 prospects that we're looking at from Brazil. But these guys are the most dedicated tournament players that I've seen so far. There's a bunch of other ones in Brazil, but for our team, these guys are literally just to give you an example. Just to get Yang on the call tonight, he was in the middle of an LOR match, and I couldn't get a hold of him. And I hop into the Brazil Discord. There is literally 14 of these guys in a channel. 4 of them are live. They're all basically helping each other out. They're either scrimming. I've hopped in there a couple of times before. They're either scrimming, they're doing deck reviews, they're trying to come up with the new deck. I can't speak for every region, but I don't see a group of people that do that much. And I think you hit it on the nail when you said, I'm glad that we're willing to share with each other. You guys don't seem afraid to say, hey, this is a really good tournament deck. We should all bring this to the tournament and see if we can win. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these tournaments do come down to whoever draws better and whoever just didn't misplay as much as the other person. Like, if you play properly and you draw well, you're going to win the tournament. So you guys working together and bringing a lot of the same decks is really cool to see, because like that's where the Hecarim Vlad deck came from, and a lot of you guys were actually bringing that deck to tournaments, and it finally won. But there was a lot of second place finishes, third place finishes. Like, it did really well. It was performing really well for Black Boss in a bunch of tournaments. He was top 80 with it multiple times, and Brazil is by far one of the hardest working regions right now that I can see in LOR competitive. I might be overstepping, might get some people mad by saying that, but from what I can see from the outside in, DOR tournaments, all of these tournaments, Jam Fest, now there's BR Fest that we're going to talk about as well. These players are just phenomenal, and I'm really excited to see more and more what you guys bring. Me and Mavnus talked about this last week on the podcast. I think Team IQ picked up some really, really good players. I know we have some really strong more North American players, not just the LATAM community, that are really strong players, but you guys are going to help these guys get even better too, I feel like, because I almost feel like Brazil's just like one step ahead right now in the meta and understanding LOR. So don't worry, Smithel will be back. This always happens. He always drops out. I told you, you probably forgot. But yeah, it's this deck, really cool. I really like to see it. It's a different tournament deck. I think I've seen it a couple of times, but I'm excited for you guys to bring some more stuff. As they keep adding more and more stuff to the game, obviously the meta is going to change. You guys will come up with new stuff and excite us in tournaments. I think, at least.
Yeah, to add to what you said, like even this deck, this Calista Tiana deck, was played by like 5 or 6 people in the Beer Fest. Like, I'm really glad that people play a deck that I made.
Yeah.
But I think that the main thing about the Brazilian community, it's like I think that it's weird because like people see us, like the people in my Discord, as the Brazilian community. So basically, like the actual Brazilian community, like the silent majority of it, or at least the people that don't go out of don't go out of Brazil, like they just stay in like the Brazilian forums and the Brazilian communities. It's a massive community, but I'm skeptical about it because it's like mostly Facebook thing, and I don't like Facebook Brazilian communities. But like, it's weird because people see us, like this 40, 50 people group, as like the competitive Brazilian community. It's weird, but I like it. I really like it, and like I'm glad that people are seeing us because I think we are the most healthy group of people, and I'm glad that we are being like the face of Brazil to people, to like outsiders, and I'm really hopeful of the future.
Well, you guys did this for yourself. Like, this is you guys got noticed from all the tournament plays that you guys did, and the more and more that Jam and everyone saw how hard you guys were working in the Discord scrimming, I'm not really surprised that your name got brought up to the group at Team IQ and why you guys got picked up. I know you guys some of you guys have extra roles on the team, and I'm community manager right now. That's what my title's called, but that might change in the next couple of days. We're talking about stuff. We're still trying to figure everything out. I know we have a lot of content that Team IQ is going to be releasing, especially some of the player profiles and meta snapshots and just overall content for our community. It's going to be awesome. I'm glad. I'll probably be bringing on someone from the administrative side of Team IQ when we're ready to release all of that stuff. But like this week we have Yang on. Next week we're going to have Nola Gold on, another Team IQ player. He's not Brazilian, but he's a really good player as well. He releases a lot of content, and Yang, I know I've been bugging you a lot. I want to see more content out of you. I want to see some YouTube. You're a really good player, and you have a really good thought, and it doesn't just have to be you. That's what's nice about you guys with the Brazilian community, and how you said, like, how we see you as the face of the Brazilian community. It's because you guys have put yourself out there. Now you guys just need to collab, make a 4-person video, and, put it up on YouTube. It will be awesome. People will love it. I love it how you guys are also very fluent in English and Portuguese as well. So it's not like you guys couldn't do like a half and half video if you wanted to, or do translations for people so that it could be in half English and half Portuguese too. So it's I know you guys have a lot of other projects, and I know that you had the Portuguese podcast that right now is on a halt, because I know we talked about that a little bit, and I know you're running the tournaments, which we're going to get into right after the deck. Well, we're basically done with the deck, but you're doing a lot of awesome things for Brazil, man. It's incredible to see, and I'm excited to see you guys grow on Team IQ.
Thanks. It's really sweet.
Awesome. Well, do we want to talk about the tournament then?
No, we're just going to end the show here. No, I'm just playing.
Any more on the deck?
So, honestly, I know we kind of got off track and a little bit off topic. Well, it's on topic but off topic from the deck. But I think we went over everything. Like, we basically understand what this deck is supposed to do. So,
I didn't explain like some things. So like in the mulligans, for like this deck. Playing this deck for the first few times, it's weird because you're gonna have a weird hand, but it's gonna work because like you're basically mulliganing for any fearsomes that you can find. Like Wraith Caller is the most important card in your deck. If you have Wraith Caller, you can keep like Mist Skull, you can keep Chronicler of Ruin, but you're basically looking for Wraith Caller, Callista, and the 2-drops, and any activators. So you're just basically holding the Mist Wraith spam game plan. So you're trying to not kill your Wraith Caller before you can activate it with like Chronicler of Ruin, Mist Skull, and everything. And you just want to like keep generating free units, because I think that's part of SI's regional identity, which is like getting card value and like card advantage. So you're just basically making that. And once you flip Callista, she's gonna resummon Wraith Caller, and then she's gonna resummon Rekindler, and then she's gonna resummon Tiana Chronicler. It's basically like an early, mid, and late game thing. Like your Callista is basically evolving as a Pokemon. It's pretty fun.
Sounds good.
That's a good way of looking at it. So let's get into the BR Fest. So, BR Fest is a North American tournament ran by the LatAm community, the Brazilian homies. It started, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? You guys did your first BR Fest a couple of weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks. Yeah. It was right before RFC, if I remember right. It was right before...
1 week before RFC.
Yeah. So, this is number 2. I'm gonna let Yang basically talk about how the tournament went, because I think I was only able to watch the SudraCon game finals. I don't think I was able to watch much because I think I was a little busy.
Yeah, just to give some background info about the tournament. It was a tournament that like never existed. So like the competitive scene in Brazil is really big, quote unquote. Like there's daily tournaments in Brazil. There's like a different tournament every day that you can play. Like no entry fee. Some have rewards, some don't. But you just play for the status, like the recognition, and just being good. But we never had like a big weekend tournament. It was always like 1 week you have Gym Fest, the other week you have DOR. And the daily scene in Brazil was basically like people wanting to prepare to these big tournaments because the rewards for these tournaments are in USD, and USD is like a lot of money to Brazil.
Yeah,
like,
I've talked about this on the show before.
Yeah, USD is a lot of money. So we just wanted to do good in these tournaments to earn a lot of money. So this week before RFC, I actually went to talk to Gem, to our Gem, to see like if there was gonna be a Gem Fest, because there was no announcement, and like we wanted to like play Gem Fest, and I just asked her if there was gonna be one so I could just announce it in Discord, and she told me that there was not gonna be a Gem Fest because they were preparing for RFC. So what happened was I just wanted to get to like have my players play in a tournament so they could just improve. So I basically made a tournament, which was BR Fest #1. It was created on Friday, happened on the Saturday right after. It had like 120 players, I think, playing.
That's an
And we
insane
got
turnout for one day. Like one day
Yeah,
notice. Like that's actually nuts.
It was not even 24 hours. It was actually less than 1 day notice. You had like 130 players. So we got a USD prize, and Cephalopod won that tournament. He's a very good player from NA, from North America. He's a really good player. We had a lot of like the top 16 for the first BR Fest was basically like 14 Brazilians, I think. And for BR Fest 2, the top 16 was also 14 Brazilians. The whole top 4 was 4 Brazilians, so I liked a lot about that. Shout outs to Nola Gold and Mago GX. They made top 16 on BR Fest 2. They're really good players as well, and I'm really glad that they played our tournament. So BR Fest 2 was basically an event that happened again because there was not going to be a DOR this weekend, because DOR was postponed for 1 week. So we just made BR Fest 2. Like, how about that? Yeah, and it happened. It was pretty fun tournament. Sudrakon won. He's a really good player. I would argue he's the best player in Brazil right now, tournament wise. Sudrakon, and there's actually a few Brazilian players that are pretty good as well. They should be mentioned, like Real Key, Black Boss, really good player, and the guy who got second place, I don't remember who it was. He's really good as well. Yeah, Green Sears. He's really good player. I actually played against him in ladder yesterday, a few times. It was, I think it was a fun experience having a tournament. It's a really fun experience.
What's cool to actually see about this whole tournament too is if you actually look at the finals, the seeding, the 12th place person played against the 10th, and I'm assuming that these are actually ranked based off their Swiss scores, right? So
yes.
Two of the lower ranked Swiss scores actually won the event. It just goes to show that day 1 and day 2 can be completely different. I know I've talked about this with tournaments before, but like this is how tournaments work. It's there is still a little bit of RNG with this game, but you still have to be good to win, because there's tons of people that can keep becoming a runner-up, and they never win. But then there's people that consistently win, like Winding God and or Winding God. Sudrakon won this. Black Boss won another. Cephalopod, I know, has won a Mavericks tournament. Also won BR Fest won. DOR is basically been Winding God for the last little while, but for a bit there, like I know Fresh Lobster wins too. Like there's a couple of players that are consistently winning. BBG won the first 3 Jam Fests or something like that. Like it's I'm excited to see a full-blown competitive scene more consistently in here. I know we can talk about it because it's been released, but Fight Night for Giant Slayer is happening this Friday, tomorrow, at I feel like I have to pull it up. Do you know, Yang? I think it's 8 Eastern. Can you pull it up just because I can't?
Yeah.
I
know it's tomorrow.
I know it's tomorrow. I can find it out, but I'll find it out before I get off. It's going to be awesome. We have Nola Gold in that. We have Sudrakon in it, and who's the second?
Ian is there too.
Ian. Okay, you guys just call him Ian? Is that what you call him? Because like I get confused with his name and I don't want to butcher it.
Yeah, the real pronunciation is Ian.
Okay. So you like
But some
Yun,
people call
okay.
him Ian.
Okay. Cool. But yeah, those three are competing in the tournament, and it's going to be 8-person. It's invitational. All of the guys stream. It's going to be casted by Blevins, casted by Casanova. It's going to be a really cool event to watch, and I can't exactly remember the exact prize pool, but I know it's a lot of US dollars. So if one of the Brazilian homies win, they'll be very, very happy. I mean, if anyone wins, they're going to be really happy. It's a substantial amount of US dollars to be winning. So it's really excited for the event. It's going to be really exciting to watch the Giant Slayer events every week, and we're probably going to talk about them because they're going to have some of the top players in the game. They're not just grabbing top streamers; they're also grabbing top players that also stream. It doesn't matter if you have 1 viewer, 16 viewers, they're grabbing competitive players that are good at the game on top of streaming. So Giant Slayer, look out for that. I know we talked about it with Casanova last week, but now we actually have the roster released. I wish I would have brought it up before the stream started because I knew everyone that was in it. I can pull up Twitter. I'll do that in a sec, but I guess start closing us out, Smithel, because I think we're good with BR Fest, unless you have something else to add, Yang?
No. I think it was a good tournament. Shout outs to Sudrakon who won. He got 100 USD. That's like half a minimum wage paycheck.
That's
in
nuts.
Brazilian reals.
That's crazy.
And I want to point out he won with an Ezreal Sub Percival deck that was also run by other 3 people in the tournament, including me.
That's pretty awesome. Like that's yeah, it's also I meant to ask you because I know I talked about it before. Do you have any shout outs you want to give for the guys that helped with the tournaments and stuff like that?
Yeah, Mr. Harry, I want to shout out Mr. Harry because he's like the most. I think he's the most dedicated guy tournament wise in the Brazilian community. He has his own tournament. He basically managed VR Fest 1 and 2. To me, he's a really good guy. I really want to shout him out because he deserves the recognition for these events, and I'm really glad that we have someone like him in the community.
Yeah, for sure. I can agree with that. I see Mr. Harry everywhere. He's actually a part of Team IQ as well. I know he's helps a lot with the Brazilian team and Brazilian tournaments and stuff. So we're really glad to have him around. We're really glad to have all of you guys around. Without you guys, we don't have a team, right? So I do have the players that are going to be in the event. I did want to shout that out because I know we talked about it on the podcast last week. So we're going to have Ian is going to be in it, Fresh Lobster, Jody MF Keith is actually Nola Golds. Hyped is going to be in it. Presto. ZMY is actually Winding God. That's, I guess, his account for Twitter. Sudrakon and Cephalopod. So that's going to be a stacked tournament. I am excited to watch that. You know what? Just for fun, let's do a little prediction on the finals. Who do you think is going to be in the finals of that tournament? And then who do you think's gonna win, Yang?
Good question. Like with how the meta's working, I have actually no idea. I want one of the Brazilians to be in the final. I actually want one of the Brazilians to win the whole thing. But in a like really thoughtful aspect, I think Winding God is gonna do really good because he's known for like being really innovative and coming up with the best meta calls. Like he came up with the Ash Johnny deck that won him 2 DORs back to back. So I'm really excited to see what Winding God is gonna play. I'm really excited to see what Sudrakon's gonna play. I actually know one of the decks that he's gonna play, and I'm really excited to see him playing it. And I want to see like a Sudrakon versus Winding God finals. That would be fun.
You don't have the insider knowledge for us? You're not going to tell us all 3 decks? Actually, don't. Because I hope that these guys aren't releasing all of their decks.
Cozer, were you saying something? Did we lose you there for a second?
Cozer, you muted.
I had myself muted. Somehow it unsynced. That's my bad. So I think at one point I was actually talking and the show was muted on the actual show part. So there's going to be a point in the show where I didn't really talk much. My bad. So I kind of agree with that. I actually think a Sudrakon Winding God final would be awesome. This is the thing, is for me, like, all of these players are really good and respectively have done well in events. But, like, the ones that stick out to me are Fresh Lobster, Presto, Winding God, and Sudrakon. Those are, like, my top 4 picks of any one of those guys. I really think if they come out, have good decks, don't get countered the whole tournament, I think it will be a really good showing for them. So, but, like, again, like, you can't count anyone out, though. Cephalopod could carry. Nola Gold could come in there with his Draven Lee Sin deck and just annihilate. Ian could do the same thing. Like, it's so... I'm just excited for these, and because there's only 8 players, it's like everyone's going to be exciting because it's going to be like an invitational. So it's always going to be hyped. It's always going to be cool to see who comes out on top, because it's like you're playing against 8 of the top players, not 132 players that you might play against a guy who's platinum. This is his first tournament, and I'm not bashing him, but he might not be at the same level as some of these players. So it might be an easy stomp. I played against BBG at RFC, the RFC tournament, and I got annihilated. I mean, people said it was close, but, like, people are bullshitting me. It was not close. I got annihilated. I misplayed so hard. I could see the difference between me and someone that thinks way smarter than me. And that's why I'm really excited for these tournaments, because I feel like all of these players, it's like an FPS. All of these guys can shoot straight. It's just who's smarter. And I feel like it's the same idea with them. Is all these guys, if they draw properly, it's going to just be whoever makes the smallest misplay is going to lose the game. It really does come down to that. And that's why I love these competitive tournaments and these competitive matches, and why I'm so excited for competitive LOR in a whole.
Yeah. Truth.
Also, like, one thing that I want to mention about this is that I'm really excited for this invitational specifically, because it's an invitational with actually, like, only top tier competitive players. So, like, we had 2 invitationals before. One was the Twitch Rivals and the other was RFC. Like, I'm not criticizing the tournaments. They were really good. They were really enjoyable to watch. But they had some people that don't play LOR in Twitch, like in the case of Twitch Rivals, and in the case of RFC, there were some people that weren't like really good at the game. In this tournament in specific, there are only really good people playing, so you can expect very good games.
Yeah, I agree with that full-heartedly. Like, we did, the Principles of Strength was the only other invitational that I know of in the LOR community that at least had a big following. And the problem with that tournament is we needed more Brazilians, and we didn't have them. We were a little short on Brazilian players because we went with a lot of big streamers at the time, and some of the Brazilian guys didn't have the biggest followings. And I regret that, because honestly, some of the best players in Brazil, they might not have the biggest followings, but these guys are nuts. And you guys are just, the more you guys stream, the more people are going to just notice the thought process and what you guys put into it and stuff like that. And I know a lot of you guys do dual streams. Like, you don't just speak Portuguese, you also speak English as well. So it's not like you can't understand English and explain to people in English and Portuguese like what's going on and your thought process. So I'm really stoked for this tournament. I really am. I'm really happy, and I'm really excited for more BR Fest because they've been super competitive, and that's nuts. I didn't actually know that you basically did it in less than 24 hours, had 130 people sign up for a North American LATAM tournament. That is actually crazy. Like, I've seen tournaments ran in 3 days because we just did one, and we did one before for an invitational for Principles of Strength, but that is actual crazy numbers. Like, that's just nuts.
One thing I want to mention about like the streaming part of the Brazilian players, I think a big part of most of the players not streaming is that we don't like to play ladder anymore. Like, since we started the like getting together in that voice call and like play testing and screaming together and everything, like we just don't play ladder anymore. We just don't watch streams, and we just play that. We just scream. We just practice and everything. And like, I mean, we could make a stream of like a 14 people voice call. It would be like something else. I don't know if it would be watched or something, but like it could be done. I just don't know if it's a good thing.
Yeah. Who knows? But there's only one way to find out, right?
True. we should stream it sometime. It's a really good voice call.
Awesome.
But, I would be super interested to see you guys stream a little bit more of your scrims, even if they're just friendly scrims. I've seen people do that in other competitive games, and it's definitely a good idea. You don't have to give away all your strats, but at least just talk over your plays and your thought process of what you're doing. It's content. It's don't worry, we'll be talking very soon, Yang. Once we have a full-on meeting with the team and management about what exactly we want to provide for content and what we want you guys to provide. It's going to be a lot of fun. Team IQ is going to be great. All right, but let's close out the show.
Yep, sounds good to me. So first, again, seriously, man, thank you for coming on the show. I know you're a busy guy, and taking 2 hours out of your day here with
us get back to ladder
is super appreciated. Super appreciated. So let me kind of turn it over to you for folks again that are looking to follow you, see what you're up to, just get more involved with your Legends of Runeterra life. What are your socials? What are the best way for people to do that?
The best way to find me currently is on Twitter or in Discord. You can follow me on Twitter at Yangzera, and I have a stream as well. It's at Yangzera_. But I don't stream as often because I'm just playtesting most of the time. But you can definitely find me on Discord at any time. I think Cozer will link the Brazilian Discord.
Yeah.
And my personal Discord is Yang #4481. So you can find me there. You can talk to me. I can talk to anyone about anything. I'm a really like easy to reach person. I like to talk. I like talking to people, like meeting people. And that's why I made the Discord, mainly because I wanted to talk to Brazilian people that play LOR. So just hit me up. Let's have a talk.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, again, if you're listening to this later or want to check out any of his socials or get any of the links, they'll be in the YouTube video. So go ahead and check that out. It'll be in the description there. Cozer, where's everybody able to look at you at? And you may be muted if you're talking.
There we go. Sorry, my bad. Cozer88 on Twitter, Cozer88 on Twitch, YT Cozer88 on YouTube.
Awesome. And as always, guys, I am on Twitter at Smithel Gaming or twitch.tv/Smithel. If you are interested in following this show, this is your first episode, you can catch us at any time via Twitter at Poro Weekly. You can also catch us on our Twitch channel if you want to watch the show live and ask our guests awesome questions. Twitch.tv/Weekly Poro Report. We also will have in the YouTube description a link to our Discord. You can go in there and talk to Cozer and I directly, or we're happy to help you out with anything that you're doing in regards to the game, and even just cheer you on. But other than that, guys, I think we're gonna close it out here today. Again, Yang, thanks for coming on the show. We are going to go ahead and raid another Mobalytics partner. We are partnered with them, so we like to kind of share the love. If you guys get a chance to stick around and stop in and say hi and tell them hello from Brazil and all that good stuff. I'm sure that they would appreciate it. But again, guys, thanks for coming, stopping on the show, listening. Yang, hopefully you'll come back in the future, man. It was awesome talking to you. But other than that, guys, always thank you, man. But other than that, guys, have a good night, and we will catch you next week. Take care.